He Has Made Me Glad is a line from the first track on the album, which is from a song that was initially recorded by a guy called Alan Lomax, who around the turn of the last century recorded a lot of old blues. Well, it's basically sort of field songs for the workers, and went around recording sort of folk songs in America. And there's a line in that where he's talking about Jesus and says, "He hath made me glad." And the line was taken not for any sort of religious connotation, but more sort of an implication of what the album is essentially about, because it's essentially a blues album, but it's so the idea of having a title about being glad is something that it must be done. He hath made me glad. You need to be made glad. It has that uplifting effect, which the blues is essentially all about. It is catharsis on something bad, but it's also something that uplifting, so something good that comes out of the bad thing, and it seemed to encapsulate what the album essentially was about in a very simple term, and it also helped that it sounded quite clever. I think that's what the blues is. I think a lot of people would argue for and against what is blues, and I think the name's in the title. I mean, it's not like jazz, which is fairly, you can't, the etymology of jazz is really hard to define, whereas blues, you're feeling blue. That's what you're blue. It's more about how it makes you feel rather than a given structure, which people say it is. It's like it's 12 bars, it's 4 chords, it's this structure, it's verse, chorus, this, that. I think it's more to do with if you're feeling sad or melancholic or blue, then singing about it in any given format or structure is the blues, because you're blue when you're singing it, basically. And that was my premise behind the songs that I picked, was that they are all within that sphere, but they all, certainly lyrically, I think all of them are melancholic. Pubs on the Housetop is a Leroy Carr song, also played with Scrapper Blackwell, and they're a good piano and guitar duo. And they're the original of that is quite a jaunty sort of, not boompa, but it's quite sort of, it's fun and it rolls along. Whereas the arrangement that I used to play with my father was a lot faster, and I've slightly changed it again. The chords are the same, the words are the same, but it's got a lot more pace to it now, and it's a foot stomper, as they say. Yeah, Dad was that's how I cut my teeth, really. It was the first gigs I ever did was with my father. We just did a blues duo, basically. He played guitar, I played piano, and that was how I was being taught to play by a friend, Lee, who taught me to play piano, and that took me a little while to get into, but I really enjoyed it, and I was being taught what I wanted to learn, which was the blues. And Dad, just as soon as he thought I could play through 4 chords and 12 bars, he's like, right, we'll get you gigging. And so I had to beg, borrow and steal a piano to play with him, and that was where I learnt all these sort of, like Papa's on the Roof, that was one we used to do. The original ones were all pretty much written in Manchester. I think there's one song on there that the music was written before I moved up to Manchester. No, that was Lost in the Skies. The music to that was written before that, but I completely rewrote the lyrics when I was back up in Manchester. 12 songs on the album, and only 3 of them are covers. So the rest are all my own material. And they were chosen again because they had a sort of melancholic feel behind them, I suppose, but they're not straight ahead what people would call a blues song, deliberately. It would have been a very boring album if I just said, no, I want to do it exactly the way it was done, 70 years ago. It would also be very boring if I said I only want to do it the way it was done now. And I think the best, any good creative material, certainly recorded, these days, is a good mix of both. As a touchstone, I used Skip James and Robert Johnson's earliest recordings, which were, Skip James recorded his first 18 songs, I think, in an evening in a factory, in a room in a factory, straight to like shellac disc or something, and with one microphone, and that was it. And Robert Johnson recorded his entire catalogue in a hotel room, and that's what everyone considers the blues, is Robert Johnson's back catalogue. Skip James used an acoustic piano and an acoustic guitar. Robert Johnson only played guitar, so that was what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do it the same way. They couldn't overdub back then, being whatever it was, 30s or 40s, and you didn't have the facility to do that. You just had one microphone, one shot. You did it. I wanted it to be done just as a take. I didn't want to be able to chop and change it and do a better vocal take and thing. And one of the virtues of blues music is its faults. The little problems it has. And there's plenty of that in the old recordings, like muted strings and sort of, and God knows there's plenty on this record. Well, most of them are all of the bass tracks are just me and an instrument. It's just me and, like, some of them are just me and piano or me and guitar with the original bass track. So I would sing over what I was playing in one go. But that was it. It was just take that one take, and the thing is, you can't then edit it, because the way you recorded it was literally a microphone on the guitar and a microphone on the mic or on the piano. You can't overdub it because you get bleed of an instrument into the vocal track, and you get bleed of the vocal track into the instrument mic. So you have to stick with what you've got. You take your best performance and then use that.
I met Leo in, I think, 2008, shortly after he'd moved up to Manchester. We had met a couple of times down in Kent, where we're both from. When Leo moved up here, where I'd been for a few years, we sort of hit it off, and both of us had done music stuff in the past, which perhaps kind of let it lie fallow a little bit. It made the sort of the start of last year, we sort of decided to kind of start it up again in earnest, and I got a new guitar, and we started going to sort of taking part in the wonderful open mic scene that Manchester has. I mean, when we first started, we were at the Fuel open mic on a Wednesday night, and one of the old boys there said, not at all desperately, you could play one of these any night of the week if you have to. I don't have to. And then it seemed like overnight. I got the call in August. Went round to Leo's, and he'd got a new guitar, and suddenly had this wonderful collection of songs. So sat there in your flats and played through all these songs. Maybe a couple of the more complicated piano ones he left out, but we sat there and you just sort of played through the bulk of the album, and it was sort of a real not really a surprise, because I know what you're capable of, but just this sort of this lovely little oeuvre sort of just emerged as this one sort of piece, and then you said, do you want to kind of come along and muck in exchange for a producer credit. So a couple of weeks later we were over at Blueprint in Salford, jam sandwiches packed, and we just you recorded it, and I sort of paced up and down, pretty serious.
And I got very lucky by being able to record in Blueprint Studios, which is Elbow's studio in Salford. And Ian, who recorded it for me was really astute. He didn't sort of. You can get a lot of engineers or people who really chime in and sort of try to take over it, or whereas I said what I needed and that was it, and he just caught exactly. He knew how to record it. He recorded it more than as well as engineering it, which is. It sounds a lot simpler, but it really isn't. Just being able to capture what the artist wants. It's a lot harder than it sounds, and he did a damn good job considering it was all one takes and it was all solo instruments and things like that. Yeah, it would have been tough for anyone else, but he really did a good job on it.
My old garage band, the Milton Keynes, had sort of made a little album just in the guitarist's bedroom on his computer. But apart from that, the occasional dabbling with a 4-track was the first time I've been in a proper recording studio. Well, I suppose the point is, and this is where you put it at the time, I'm not really there to lend a technical hand. People have that in hand. It's more the case that you want someone there who knows the songs, who knows your performance style, knows the records you like, and so it is there to sort of say when you could do it better.
Yeah.
And also somebody who's a stickler for pronunciation, and will sort of tell you when important words in choruses are unclear. Well, that's right. I produced Clear.
Yeah. It's re-taught me what how popular this sort of music is, without I think even the audience realising it. Recently, we've James and I, my friend who sort of got me into this all again, we've been playing at a place called One Lounge in Didsbury, which is just around the corner from where I live, and we got a pretty good slot on an Easter Sunday rather, and it was one of the best gigs I've done, and I played songs off the album and songs that or songs that could have been on the album, and they went down a storm. They were very popular, and it's surprising how no one wants me to Adele it up, which I'm very pleased about, because I think everyone really sort of sees the worth in the material.
No, it's a lovely record, and I will continue to listen to it. I suppose one of the nicest things about it is about the experience is just to see a pal of mine just get his business together and make a really fun record out of it. That's always been the sort of spirit of music for me. Is just a bunch of pals mucking in and mucking about and trying to produce something. Just trying to make something. It's a kind of handmade craft. Back in the sort of Kent music scene, and a lot of the music I love from that area, the sort of Medway, Billy Childish stuff. That all comes out of a sort of local, handmade, mucking in ethos of just a lot of mates putting on gigs and playing music together. And it's great to find that up here as well.
I think definitely give it a try. I think you'd be surprised by it. Despite it just being one guy in a room, it's with like one or two instruments. I like to think, I hope there's a lot in it. There's a lot there. There should be a song in there for everyone.